Okay, we have almost reached to the next phase of our equilibrium chapter. Let's see what next. So, here we are going to learn about what are acid, bases, and salts. Now, as per Arrhenius' definitions of acids and bases, it says that acids are the substance which are able to donate the hydrogen ion to the solutions, whereas bases are the substance which are able to donate hydroxide ion to the solution. For example, over here, nitric acid in water, that means the aqueous solution of nitric acid gives a hydrogen ion and nitrate ion. Whereas sodium hydroxide, aqueous solution of sodium hydroxide, that means sodium hydroxide dissolved in water, gives sodium ion plus hydroxide ion. Whereas here you can see when hydrogen chloride is getting dissolved in water, so hydrogen ion produced from the HCl gets combined with the water molecules and results into hydronium ion and chloride ion. Next came into the definitions of Lowry-Bronsted theory as Arrhenius acid-base theory found limitations that it was limited to only aqueous solutions. Hence, it was not able to define the substance which are insoluble in water, classified as acid or bases. Hence, to overcome these situations, Lowry-Bronsted theory came up with new definitions where Bronsted-Lowry theory says the substance is an acid if it is able to donate its proton, whereas a substance is a base if it is able to accept the proton. Hence, as per Bronsted-Lowry theory, an acid is a proton donor, whereas a base is a proton acceptor. Hence, we can see here the example how it is taking place. For example, water, an acid, ammonia, a base. Water, it's donating its proton, whereas ammonia is accepting a proton. Hence, water is an acid, whereas ammonia is a base. Now, water, after donating its proton, it's converted into hydroxide ion, which is termed as conjugate base, means the weak base. Whereas ammonia, after accepting a proton, it converts into the conjugate acid, which is a weak acid. Next came up with the Lewis acid-base theory as Laurie Bronsted was having limitations with the proton donor and acceptor, but later on we did found that there are some substance without a proton into it, yet they are acting as an acid as well as a base. Right, so to overcome this, Lewis acid has come up with the latest modern definition of an acid and base theory as acid means electron acceptor but not a proton donor. It is not related with that it has to donate a proton as per the Laurie Bronsted definitions of acid and base. So Lewis acid means an electron acceptor, whereas Lewis base means an electron donor. Later on, these Lewis acids are also termed as electrophiles, whereas Lewis base is termed as nucleophiles. Next, an electrolyte, depending upon the strength of acid, a new term came across an electrolyte. So, what is an electrolyte? An electrolyte may be defined as substance which either in molten state or in aqueous solution can conduct electricity. Acids, bases, and salts are mostly electrolytes. Now, then, what are strong electrolytes? Electrolytes are classified as strong electrolytes as well as weak electrolytes. The electrolytes which are almost completely ionized in aqueous solution, they are termed as strong electrolytes, whereas the electrolytes which are ionized to small extent in aqueous solutions, they are termed as weak electrolytes. Now, weak electrolytes are the weak acids and weak bases, whereas strong electrolytes are the strong acids and the strong bases. Next, depending upon this, just a moment. So here you can see electrolytes are the chemical substance that can conduct electricity in an aqueous state or a molten state. Here how electrolyte, this is the application of an electrolyte. Next, we are going to learn about the ionic equilibrium in aqueous solutions, how ionic equilibrium takes place. The equilibrium established between the unionized molecules and the ions in the solutions of weak electrolytes. That is the ionic equilibrium. Now, weak electrolytes, as I told you, it can be a weak acid, it can be a weak base. Here we have taken an example of a weak acid, which is an acetic acid, uh, which is found in vinegar. Hence, this is the way how dissociation of acid takes place into ester ions and hydrogen ions. Next comes ionic product of water. Ionic product of water. Water, we know it is the chemical formula is H2O. That means it has one H plus ion and one OH minus ion. Hence, the product of the concentration of hydronium ion and the hydroxide ion gives the ionic product of water. So the product of concentration of hydrogen and hydroxyl ion is constant at a given temperature, which is known as ionic product of water. Let's see, that is H2O plus H2O gives hydronium ion and hydroxide ion. This is the Kw, which is the concentration. C stands for here concentration of hydronium ion and concentration of hydroxide ion. At 25 degrees C, the value is ionic product of water is 1 into 10 raised to minus 14. Now, how it is 1 into 10 raised to minus 14? Let's see the derivation. We know that is the at 25 degrees C, 1 molar of water, the concentration of hydronium ion is equal to concentration of hydroxide ion at equilibrium. Therefore, Kw is equals to product of concentration of hydronium ion and hydroxide ion. So the concentration of hydronium ion is 1 into 10 raised to minus 7, and concentration of hydroxide ion is also 1 into 10 raised to minus 7, as pH of water is equals to neutral, which is equals to 7. Hence, in pure water at 298 Kelvin, the concentration of hydronium ion is equal to concentration of hydroxide ion, that is 1 into 10 raised to minus 7 per mole per liter. Now, this is the strength of the acid, how we can justify or come to the conclusion that whether the acid is an um, strong acid or weak acid, or whether the base is a strong base or weak base. That means in general we are determining the strength of an acid or a base. As we all know that pH is equals to negative logarithm of concentration of hydronium ion. Similarly, pK is equals to negative logarithm of Ka, means more the Ka value, less the pKa value, and hence the strength of the acid is more. And same with the pKb, right? More the Kb value, more is the basic strength. The factors influencing the degree of ionizations, the factors influencing the degree of ionizations are dilution, temperature, solvent, nature of solute, nature of solvent, and presence of the other substances. So when we say factors affecting the degree of ionization, we can say at normal dilutions, the value of alpha is nearly 1 for strong electrolyte, while it is very less than 1 for weak electrolytes. Next, we can say that higher the dielectric constant of a solvent, more is its ionizing power. That means the dilution of solution is directly proportional to the amount of solvent. Even we can talk about the degree of ionization of an electrolyte in solution increases with the rise in temperature. And next we can also talk about the presence of the common ion, that is the degree of ionization of an electrolyte decreases in the presence of a strong electrolyte having a common ion. Let's see in detail. One measure of the strength of an acid is known as the acid dissociation equilibrium constant, that is Ka. When Ka is relatively large, the acid is strong, whereas when it is very small, the acid is weak. Now, next, get back with the concept of pH, that is pH is the symbol which has been derived from the Danish word potens, the hydrogen ions, which means the power of hydrogen ion. The pH of a solution may be defined as negative logarithm of hydrogen ion concentration. Hence, here comes your pH scale, which is ranges between 0 to 14. pH equals to 7 comes under neutral. And this is the color strips of the pH paper. When it is highly acidic, it is dark red in color. When it is highly basic, it is dark violet in color. Whereas when it attains neutral, it has light green in color. And a few substances are listed which are acidic, basic, or neutral in nature. Next comes hydrolysis of salts. Now, how the hydrolysis takes place. Let's see how hydrolysis takes place. Basically, salt hydrolysis is a reaction in which one of the ions from a salt reacts with water, forming either an acidic or a basic solution. I repeat, normally or generally, salt hydrolysis is a reaction in which one of the ions from a salt reacts with water, forming either an acidic or a basic solution. Hence, the cations or anions formed during ionization of salts either exist as hydrated ions in aqueous solutions or interact with water to regenerate its ions. So here we have a basic knowledge about it, that is strong acid plus strong base gives neutral salt solution where pH of the salt is 7. Strong acid plus weak base give acidic salt solution where pH is less than 7. And weak acid plus strong base gives base salt solution where pH is greater than 7. Weak acid plus weak base gives neutral salt solution where pH is equals to 7. Then it is fair to say that salts with very small solubility product constants are one sparingly soluble in water. Let's see what happens, how we can predict that salt obtained from strong acid and strong base, how they are neutral in nature. Here we have a salt obtained from strong acid and strong base. That is, strong acid is hydrochloric acid, whereas strong base is sodium hydroxide. So when they are undergoing hydrolysis reaction, when the salt obtained from this strong acid and strong base undergoing hydrolysis reaction produces a water molecule which is neutral in nature. Whereas if we just check the salt from strong acid and weak base, that is ammonium chloride obtained from HCl and ammonium hydroxide, undergoes hydrolysis reaction, it produces hydronium ion, which proves or which confirms that the salt ammonium chloride is acidic in nature. Next, salt from weak acid and strong base, that is sodium acetate, obtained from weak acid, that is acetic acid, or it is also known as ethanoic acid, and strong base, sodium hydroxide. When it undergoes hydrolysis, it produces hydroxide ion. Now, this production of hydroxide ion confirms that sodium acetate is basic in nature. Solubility product constant. Before we define the solubility product constant, let's see what is solubility equilibrium. Solubility equilibrium is a type of dynamic equilibrium that exists when a chemical compound in the solid state is in chemical equilibrium with the solution of that compound. The solid may dissolve unchanged with dissociation or with chemical reaction with another constituent of the solution such as acid or alkali. The solubility product constant Ksp is the equilibrium constant for a solid substance dissolving in an aqueous solution. It represents the level at which a solute dissolves in solution. The more soluble a substance is, the higher the Ksp value it has. I repeat, the more soluble a substance is, the higher the Ksp value it has. The solubility constant can be affected by temperature, pressure, and molecular size, and it's important for determining solubility, predicting if a precipitate will form, and understand the common ion effect. So let's see. Here we have an example, that is AgCl solid undergoing equilibrium. It converts into Ag ion and Cl ion, whereas Ksp is equals to the product of the concentration of Ag ion and Cl minus ion. Here we have a few more examples of bismuth sulfide and nickel carbonate as well. Reaction quotient tells us whether the reaction is at equilibrium or not. Now, what is reaction quotient? In chemical thermodynamics, the reaction quotient is a quantity that provides a measurement of the relative quantities of products and reactants present in a reaction mixture. For a reaction with well-defined overall stoichiometry at a particular point in time. I repeat that in chemical thermodynamics, the reaction quotient measures the relative amounts of product and reactants present during a reaction at a particular point in time. Reaction quotient aids in figuring out which direction a reaction is likely to proceed, given either the pressures or the concentrations of the reactants and the product. Hence, if reaction quotient value is equal to the solubility product value, then the system is at equilibrium. Whereas if the reaction quotient value is less than the solubility product constant, the system is not at equilibrium, whereas it is shifting towards the right. If the reaction quotient value is greater than the solubility product constant, The system is again not at equilibrium and hence the reaction is shifting towards left. The common ion effect, what is common ion effect, as we have discussed earlier as well? Common ion effect tells us about the decrease in solubility of an ionic precipitate by the addition to the solution of a soluble compound with an ion in common with the precipitate. I repeat, the common ion effect refers to the decrease in solubility of an ionic precipitate by the addition to the solution of a soluble compound with an ion in common with the precipitate. This behavior is a consequence of a Le-Chatelier's principle for the equilibrium reaction of the ionic dissociation or association. Hence, here you can see an example, that is ionization of a weak acid such as HF. Now, this is your hydrogen fluoride. The F ion can be increased by adding sodium chloride, which is a strong electrolyte to it. Right. Hence, we can talk about, that is, as I told, that common ion effect causes the reduction of solubility when adding like ions. For example, when sodium chloride is added to a solution of HCl and water, the hydrochloric acid and water are in equilibrium, with the products being hydronium ion and chloride ion. Next, what is buffer solution? Buffers are the solution of a weak conjugate acid-base pair and are particularly resistant to pH change, even when strong acid or base is added to it. Right, so buffer solution is a water solvent based solution which consists of a mixture containing a weak acid and the conjugate base of the weak acid, or a weak base and the conjugate acid of the weak base. They resist a change in pH upon dilution or upon the addition of small amount of acid or alkali to them. Now, how does a buffer solution work? So, buffers work by neutralizing any added acid or base to maintain the moderate pH, making them a weaker acid or base. The further addition of an acid or base to the buffer will change its pH quickly. We have two types of buffer solution, that is the acidic buffer solution and the basic buffer solution. A buffer solution containing a large amount of weak acid and its salt with a strong base is termed as an acidic buffer. Such buffer solutions have pH less than 7, whereas basic buffer solution contains relatively large amounts of a weak base and its salts with a strong acid is termed as a basic buffer, which has pH higher than 7. Mechanism of buffer action. An acid buffer contains relatively large amounts of a weak acid and its salt with a strong base. The buffer solution thus contains large concentration of acetic acid and acetate ion, apart from hydronium ion and hydroxide ion. An addition of small amount of a strong acid causes the following reactions. Since the ratio of weak acid to salt remains virtually unchanged, as a result, no observable changes in the pH value is seen. Buffer solutions are also widely used in industries, industrial processes requiring buffer solutions, including fermentation, controlling dye process, and manufacturing pharmaceuticals. Buffer solutions are now applications of buffer solutions in our body as well. If you can see, our body uses buffers to maintain a pH of blood that is 7.35 to 7.45, and also is a massive number of biochemical reactions involving enzymes. Enzymes are very complex compounds, often requiring precise pH levels in order to react properly. A role filled by organic buffers produced by your body. For the same reason, buffers are vital for a biologist or chemist performing experiments in the lab. A certain pH will often be required in order for the process being studied to occur, and buffers are the only way to ensure these conditions. So, what are the actions of basic buffer? A basic buffer contains a weak base and it salts with strong acid. The buffer solution thus contains large amounts of the weak base and the cation. The addition of an acid or a base to a basic buffer causes the following reactions. Buffering capacity represents the amount of hydrogen or hydroxide ion the buffer can absorb without a significant change in pH. A buffer with a large capacity contains large concentrations of buffering components and can absorb a relatively large amount of protons or hydroxide ions without much pH change. So buffers resist applications. Buffers resist changes in pH from the addition of acid or base, and the body absorb hydronium or hydroxide ions from foods and cellular processes to maintain pH. Buffers are important in the proper functioning of cells and blood. Buffers in blood maintain a pH close to 7.4. A change in the pH of the blood affects the uptake of oxygen and cellular processes. So this is what about your equilibrium. Daily life as well, according to Dalai Lama, says, my faith helps me overcome such negative emotions and find my equilibrium. And stay safe, stay tuned.